Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for sticking around through the mural process. I know it was a few days maybe that were out of the norm, but I hope you enjoyed the process and seeing the levels to which I use to create a mural. Anyway, this morning we're going to do a little quick sketch and hopefully you guys will enjoy. Okay, so I'm going to mix it up today a little bit just because I had a lot of people request that I do a little bit of narration, a little bit of time lapse. I'm going to try to keep it under 10 minutes. Hopefully you guys can appreciate that. So I am coming off of my wonderful mural that I just finished for Florida Hospital that I love doing. I love doing murals because, like I said in the videos, it gets me out of my norm. It gets me out of the studio. And you know, I love going outside. I don't know if any of you guys have realized that. I love being outside. I love just experiencing, you know, nature. As a kid, I would basically ride my bike everywhere I went, and you know, I would go on little day adventures with friends, and as we all did as kids. Now nowadays it's a little more difficult because parents are so trepidatious about allowing their children to pretty much go outside, and that's a travesty because you learn so much about who you are, you know, whenever you go on these little adventures and stuff. So this morning I'm just doing a really quick seasonal sketch that hopefully you guys will enjoy. Of course, seasonal being something of the character zombie hilarity situation. Persuasion. This Inktober has been a little bit different for me just because I've had to facilitate a lot of work recently, which is really good. You know, work is always good. You know, I had a few days there where I was just so tired. Oh my gosh. Anyway, you guys don't want to care about that business. You want to see some artwork sketches. Okay, so whenever I do stuff like that, or this, I'm basically blocking in, you know, blocking in the areas and the forms, and like I said before, I don't go really tight, really fast, and I like keeping things really loose. And the reason for that is because of, I don't want to say the happy accident, but basically what can happen in the midst of you doing some of these, you know, these wild and crazy lines is you can kind of find things in here that would, you know, jump out at you. And it's fun. You know, to make sense, it's fun. Drawing, you guys, drawing is supposed to be fun. Drawing and creating stuff and delving into the inner workings of you know, the artistic life. It's supposed to be fun. You know, I always am amazed whenever if I'm contracted to do a job and I have to go to the studio, you know, different studios, whether it's Disney or Universal or one of those areas. A lot of times inside the studio environment, people are kind of unhappy. And it is a way of life, you know, the fact that jobs, here we do this. See, jobs can be treated as jobs, or they can be treated as, you know, just a job, a J-O-B, or it can be treated as a way of life. I like saying that this is fun, you know. My mom always had a, well, not my mom. My mom, well, yeah, it was my mom. My mom always said that if it can be changed by money, then it's not really a problem. You know? Okay, so whenever you do stuff like this, and especially creatures of zombie persuasion, you want to always think that zombies are in different levels of decay. You know, you can go full out zombie and just have parts falling off, but a lot of times that's too far. In characterizations and stuff like that, and stuff like this, you want to have a degree of humanity. However, you also want to have a high degree of humor. I like doing humorous illustrations. Can I do realistic stuff? Yeah. Can I do really just evil stuff? Yeah. But I want to have a degree of humor in there. So, you know, I offset the eyes to kind of give him a, you know, this eye isn't really communicating with this eye. So the zombies, it gives kind of a blank stare. Now, if I were to literally have the, you know, the brow come down and have it staring straight at you, then it would give a connotation of really evil, and I'm not into that. So, anyway, I'm going to put this baby on time lapse and let you guys see the process of me wrapping up the blue pencils. Then I'm going to go into inks. Then I'm going to put a little bit of color in here, a little bit of tonality, not too much, not going overboard today. I got a lot of work to do, so I want to keep things light. You know, and if you look, it's like I'm sculpting. Whenever I draw, I like to think in terms of forms all the time, thinking how something's rounded, how, you know, this part of the forehead comes down and then it comes around. You know, I'm not just drawing a straight line. I'm thinking in terms of form, that 3D form that you're constantly being reminded of every single time. I mean, these two lines are just two separate lines, but whenever I put this little construction line over it, suddenly it becomes a form that I can relate to much better. Make sense? Anyway, so that's what I'm doing this morning. Enjoy the process. Thank you, guys. So it's been about, I don't know, 8 minutes or so. And it's not really a trick, but one of the things that I do whenever I draw is I think, you know, I'm always thinking in terms of character. I'm always thinking in terms of form, how gravity affects things, how, you know, all these factors play into your drawing to give it a better feeling in the real world. One of the things that you can do as an artist doing characters and stuff like that, whenever you shade. So whenever you shade, a lot of people think in terms of just blocking in shading. What you need to do is think in terms of how your shade lines can really add to the form of the piece. So like, I know that this particular plane of the face, I mean, just to give you some real simple construction lines here, you have this rounded part and it comes under, okay? So it goes out, it goes front, and then it goes and it wraps around again because of this puffed area of the eye socket area, the musculature. Then this bone comes out, okay? It comes out and it comes around and then it comes down. So what you can do is you can shade, instead of just doing this, okay, and going the complete opposite of the way the form is defined, you can shade in the direction of your form. And what that will do, again, it will add. That's very important. It will add to the structure of your character design. You know, like here, I'm gonna go ahead and just put a little bit of shading in, and then you'll have this it'll come around like this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shade like that. And what that'll do is it'll redefine and reestablish that particular plane that's in there, okay? This just takes practice, guys. It just takes time. You know, you'll learn, and I'm not gonna sit here and profess that I know everything whenever it comes to drawing stuff like this, which I don't. I am learning every single day. This drawing this morning, believe it or not, even though I've been doing this for years, this drawing is learning. This is learning. This is learning how your brain connects with your arm. You're learning how, you know, how you see things, how you see the world, how you define the world, how you basically, you know, you interpret your world. Excuse me. So that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and put it on time lapse and start the inking process. So I'm just about done inking. This took about another 7 to 8 minutes. What I'm seeing, and every single time I do one of these pieces, is I'm trying to think in terms of not only teaching, but also rediscovering and putting things into terms that you guys can understand effectively. Because a lot of times artists talk in such a way that they are used to. However, the people that are learning sometimes have no idea what they're talking about. You know, a prime example would be, yeah, the overlapping line effectively reestablishes the form, and you know, you're always thinking about perspective and all of these things that maybe the person viewing, you know, wanting to get into drawing will look at it and go, yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about. And one of the things that I like to explain with overlapping lines is you can have your lines, right? You have your lines, okay? Let's say I'm drawing an arm, and I see this a lot. You know, here's an arm. You know, here's a hand. Okay, so effectively that looks like an arm. However, well, relatively speaking, I'm not trying to do anything effectively good. What I'm trying to say is overlapping lines, you know, according to the forms, you see how this line comes under and then this line comes over, and it just that little effect right there, that's not an effect, just that little element basically helps promote form, distance, perspective, and you know, you see this whenever maybe you do some hills. But where you're really going to see it is in a situation like this, where you have these overlapping lines to kind of show, okay, this particular form comes over, and then you have this one that comes under, from under. You know, and then like all of these, I'm going to come around and I'm just basically going to overlap these lines. And just by that simple little, I mean, that tooth looks like it's in the gum instead of being placed on the gum. Just that little overlapping line right there helps establish where that tooth is in the gum line. I'll give you another example. You see this little plane right here? It comes out and then it comes up. That reestablishes that brow line, comes out and then back in. You know, these are all things that as a artist and illustrator, you are constantly trying to redefine. And what it does is over time, you doing this and finding the most efficient way of doing this for yourself is going to basically give you a style of drawing. You know, everybody is so, not everybody, a lot of people are so interested in, you know, what's my style? What's my style? Is it neoclassic? Is it, you know, do I have like a steampunk feel? Is it archaic? Is it simplistic? Is it, you know, all of these things that we try to label instead of just drawing how you draw or draw how you see. I am, like I said before, I'm a collector. I'm a collector of styles. I love people and their different ways that they draw. You know, I like Brett Bean a lot. The way he draws, I love. Peter DeSev, obviously, he's kind of the godfather of what I deem as you know, the narrative illustration. You know, you have your classics, your vintage, you know, J.C. Leyendecker and all these people that, you know, I grew up on. But that being said, there's a lot of really good illustrators out there now. There's a lot of really good people, and with the internet, you can basically have access to these people, you know, and see their work, whereas before you would only see them in a professional setting. Carter Goodrich is another one. I love his line work. So what I'm trying to basically iterate to you guys is, don't be concerned right now if you're just starting out with, you know, what's the style of my drawing? You know, what differentiates me from, you know, the next guy? And basically what I'm trying to tell you right now is, don't be so concerned with your style. What I would like, you know, what I wanted to have somebody tell me was, especially when I was in school, instead of trying to push a style on me, draw a lot. If you're thinking drawing a lot now, you're not drawing enough. If you're thinking you're drawing too much, you're just barely touching it. You need to basically be drawing a lot. And the reason for this is it starts developing your muscle memory. It starts developing the way you see. You know, if you're doing 30 minutes to an hour a day, I think that's pretty good. If you're doing, you know, an hour or 2 hours, 3 hours, you're probably right on the cusp. And as learning people, if you're really interested in it, it has to do with just time. You know, time and drawing and observation and doing these things constantly. Like whenever I drive, this is a very good example. Whenever I drive, it's so funny because, especially whenever I'm by myself, a lot of times I'll turn off the radio. Oh my gosh, you turn off the radio when you drive? Oh heck yeah. I'll turn off the radio and I'll start looking around at different ways people have used design, whether it's a billboard, whether it's a car, you know, the lines, in terms of perspective, what, you know, how can I look at that and gather perspective from it? Or how would I draw that particular car? And these are the things that I do. You know, that works for me. You know, obviously, if your family's there sitting in the car, you don't want to turn the radio off and tell everybody to be quiet and then you go off in your own world. No, you need to be respectful of that. But on the same accord, you know, if you have the opportunity to turn a situation into a learning process, then do it. You guys, it's going to take so much longer than what you think. You know, this drawing thing is a life commitment, or at least it is for me. Like I said, I am consistently trying to push the envelope. I'm consistently trying to absorb people's different styles. I'm consistently trying to better myself as an illustrator, as an artist, learning new pieces of software, you know, all of these things. That's what makes a successful artist, is that learning mentality, that learning, you know, that mindset of you saying to yourself, I don't know everything, and therefore I will absorb everything I can to better my drawing. Each drawing is a little bit better. You know, some drawings are going to stink, some drawings are going to be great, some drawings, you know, you move on. You do them, you move on. You don't dwell on things that you've done in the past. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm going to go ahead and color this one up really quick. Hopefully we'll keep this under 30 minutes, and you, you guys enjoy. Okay, that pretty much wraps it up. I'm not going to continue on with it just because I don't want it to take any more time from the day. Moving on to the day's activities. So, like and subscribe if you like what you see. I really enjoy doing the videos for you guys. Let me know of any particular characters down in the comments if you have any. And stay tuned. Lots coming. See you next time.